Mittel in the red and white car. It's the mostly black car for Joe Stables, who's closest to the camera, and Stephen Bell in the red and white Sabre on the far side of row 2, and the black and orange Mittel of Richard Wise. As the lights go out and the race gets underway then, so who's it going to be into the first corner of this RLM Racing Bikesports Championship race? Well, it's not the best of starts by Scott Mittel, I'm afraid, so Joe Stables has gone straight into the lead of the race. A combative move there between Leon Morel and Richard Wise for 4th position, but it's the 35 car of Morel that goes through. Wise is in 5th spot as they turn their way through Hawthorne and towards the chicane.
Stables is gone, and Morel's got it all wrong now. He had that moment at Clairvaux. He's on the grass now. He didn't really lose too much time considering, and he's going to hang on to 4th place, in fact, as they go into Tower Bend. But there was a challenge from Richard Wise. Alistair Smart did make a great start, so he's lost a position as well there as they make their way down into the Jim Clark S's. I guess the poorest start really come from the poleman, Scott Mittel. We didn't expect him to lose the lead, but this is the battle of 4th. Morel versus Wise. Behind you got Smart and Drew battling, and Ross Drew, the second of the Class B cars, was having a good challenge there to try and do something about Alistair Smart. He couldn't though. So this 20-minute race for the RLM Racing Bikesports Championship is coming to the end of lap 1. This is the battle of a third between Stephen Bell, who has held that place for so long earlier before retiring, is ahead of Liam Morel. Again, a quick, aggressive start to his race.
Yeah, absolutely right. So you've got Bell and Morel almost together as they come through and end the lap in 3rd and 4th positions respectively. It's Joe Stables leading though from Scott Mittel in 2nd position as they go across the line to end lap 1, and I think everyone's made it around the first lap. Okay, and that's a good scrap there going on between the Drew car number 17 and 73, Alistair Smart, and the 17 car actually goes through there to take the position, so that's Ross Drew ahead now of Alistair Smart into the top 6.
There's Scott Mittel getting back on terms with Joe Stables after a slow start for Mittel. Wonder if they'll learn anything about the earlier race. We really saw him drop away at the end. Scott Mittel, who runs on ex-Formula 3 slick racing tyres. Both, I think, these cars on 13-inch slick or 13-inch wheels, so both of course slick racing tyres, but I know the Mittel team are saying they get older Formula 3 slicks because they're a lot cheaper than buying brand new ones, because of course Formula 3 teams don't use theirs for very long at all, but you can make your tyres last much longer than that. But the battle for the lead is very good indeed. They're absolutely together. This race, Mittel looks a lot more racy in the early stages, Ian.
It does, doesn't he? Trying to put some pressure on Joe Stables here, get him to make a mistake. I suspect that might be what it needs if Scott's going to try and find a way through. They're very evenly matched, these cars and drivers. I think it might need a mistake from one of them, in this case Stables, if we're going to see a change to the status quo. Bell has gone through in 3rd position, Morel 4th. He's got Richard Wise right behind him though in 5th, Ross Drew up into 6th place on that lap, as we say. But there are the leaders as they head down towards Tower for the 3rd time.
Okay, they've basically got the whole length of the straight between them and the rest. Oh, Matt Moore's got damage and he's for the pit lane. So Matt Moore's been involved in strife. He's got damage to the front left-hand side of his Radical SR3. But we wait for the battle of a third to come into shot here, which is Stephen Bell ahead of Leon Morel, and then Richard Wise, Ross Drew, Alistair Smart, and not far behind are Andrew Kimpton and Mark Boot. But there's Bell then in the Sabre Scala, a car being developed by Tim Gray Motorsport. Tim Gray did drive the car to shake it down on Thursday and did a pretty decent lap time in it, to be honest. And Stephen Bell's getting quicker and quicker all the time, and he's looking for his first podium here in Bikesports. It's only his 2nd weekend racing slick and winged cars. But here are the leaders, exiting the hairpin already, and it's as close as it has been for the last couple of laps. The top 2 dive across the line then, with the fastest lap from Mittel, 1:18.38, in pursuit of Stables. He's over the curve. He's sideways through Clairvaux there, but he caught it pretty well. What about through Hawthorne when he's wider? But that was a bit of a moment. It's a nasty curb really on the run through Clairvaux. Is that going to give Scott Mittel a chance down towards Tower Bend? I don't think he's quite close enough again. So a great defence there from Stables, despite a bit of an error. He's able to hang on then ahead of Scott Mittel. They're already 17 seconds ahead of anybody else in this race. And here is the rest, absolutely battling away.
Yeah, great scraps going on down the field as it is in the lead of the race. So that was the battle that we were seeing there for 5th and 6th, because Ross Drew having a good race here. He's putting some pressure on Richard Wise in the Mattel. Ross Drew is driving from the Midlands, chasing after Wise, and Alistair Smart only just behind in 7th.
Out of shot, we've had a change for the lead of the motor race because Scott Mattel has got himself ahead of Joe Stables. There you can see it on your screen now. Scott Mattel around the back of the circuit has got himself ahead of Stables. Stables was scrappy at the beginning of the lap, and it's come good now for Mattel. He leads the race, but only just. What a battle this is turning into this season between these two drivers. A 1:18.38 for Scott Mattel. He leads then from Joe Stables. I think we need a refresh again of the timing of Tower, I'm afraid, before that will come true. Looks like that stopped a couple of laps ago, but we'll get that fixed for you. And Scott Mattel leads the race then as they come down towards Tower Bend. What a great move that must have been out of our sight, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. So Scott Mattel ahead. Now, can Joe Stables fight back? We've not yet seen him in this mode during the course of the weekend so far. Now he needs to apply the pressure to Scott to try and force Scott into a mistake. See if that can happen. But for the moment, if anything, Scott's getting away. He's to the tune of a few car lengths. So Joe perhaps going to find that tough to do. But there's still a long way to go. Nearly 14 minutes left in this race, so plenty of time, you'd think.
You would. We shall see. If he does start to drop away, it'll become more difficult. Mattel is certainly gapping him. Now he's in clean air, which is the first time Mattel's had that in race conditions today. So him and Stables 20 seconds up the road from the rest after just 4 laps. This is the completion of lap 5 then, as they crossed the line in the earlier race. The best lap of the race was a 1:18 dead for Mattel. That lap was in the 17s, 1:17.78, a new lap record in the Bikesports Championship around the Croft circuit. So that was a really good lap from Mattel and shows the kind of pace that car can do when it's in front of the Radical PR6.
Yeah, here's this battle for 5th and 6th positions going through the chicane at the moment. Number 88, Richard Wise, and number 17, Ross Drew. They're in different classes because Drew is second within Class B. Leon Morel, a couple of cars ahead of him. There he is, the 35 car leading Class B at the moment. Class B for production engine cars. Class A is for cars with tuned engines, but as you can see, the quickest of the Class B cars certainly do mix it with the Class A cars. There is the 3rd place car, Stephen Bell. Good to see Steve back out again for race 2. I think there was some concern that he wouldn't be, and he might not be able to take the start, but there he is. Boulder's Brass leading this next group of cars from Leon Morel, Class B leader, Richard Wise, Ross Drew and Alistair Smart. And actually, Mark Boot and Andrew Kimpton aren't far away behind this battle either, are they? It's really pretty much 7 cars separated only by about 5 seconds.
Half of the starters together. Mark Boot's going much better than earlier, so that's great to see. Someone that's been campaigning this car for quite some time now, the Radical PR6. So you can see him on your screens. Car 26 chasing Alistair Smart, who joined Bikesports in the last year or so. And they come into the complex then with Stephen Bell with so many cars in his mirrors, but he's keeping them all behind for now. Up front, by the way, Mattel's driving away from Stables. He's set another new lap record, a 1:17.66. He's 2 seconds ahead of Stables, but for 3rd is 2 seconds separating many, many cars.
Absolutely. That 1:17.66, that's 97.35 miles an hour average, by the way, which is absolutely fantastic. Here's the fight for 3rd. And it's lively, isn't it? And again, Drew carrying more speed than Wise at this part of the circuit, trying to find a way alongside Richard Wise, but probably Wise will be a bit quicker down the straight here. And Drew's able to make up some of that time in the corners, but it's Bell, Morel, Wise, Drew under braking. I'm afraid I could see that coming. I'm afraid I could see that coming. He was down the inside, but very late on the brakes. It ended, as I thought it might do, in a spin for Ross Drew, and all of the hard work that he had done is now undone because he's dropped, well, not only to the back of that group, but a long way behind it.
Yes, a big old spin there at Tower. And immediately Alistair Smart has got himself on terms with Richard Wise here, and in front Liam Morrell is with Steve Bell. So down into the complex they come for the 7th lap of the race, and Liam Morrell is all over the back here of Bell. So you've got so many different types of car here. You've got the Sabre Escala ahead of the Radical SR3, the Mattel MC41R. Then you've got the Radical PR6s of Alistair Smart and Mark Boot and Andrew Kimpton that complete this battle. So 4 different types of sports racers heading down towards Clairvaux. Great to see the variety in bike sports. And here for 4th, Morrell under pressure from Wise, and that brings the PR6s behind in contention. So as I was saying, Ian, great to see different shapes, different models here racing in the Bike Sports Championship this year.
That spin for Ross Drews drops him outside the top 10, by the way, as we are focusing on this battle then between Richard Wise in 5th, Alistair Smart in 6th, Mark Boots in 7th place. Not quite with Leon Morrell and Stephen Bell now. Brian Murphy with that spin for Ross Drews goes ahead, as off the road goes Alistair Smart, 73. Gets back on relatively quickly though without losing too much time.
Quite exciting grass tracking in a Radical PR6, I should imagine. But yes, he stayed in front of Mark Boot, who I think is having probably his best race in bike sports this season. I think we saw him out at Donington Park as well, but having a good run here in 7th position on the Croft circuit. Yeah, Mark Boot's best result at Donington, I think, was a 10th position, so yeah, going better than that. And he's riding this battle for what is 3rd overall, and he's putting Alistair Smart under intense pressure coming down to the hairpin. Steve Bell, though, still leads this group of cars in the Sabre then, that's being run by Tim Gray Motorsport. And you want to find out a bit more about the project, we had an interview with Steve, which will be available online on demand as part of this full Alpha Live streaming weekend. It'll be all available on YouTube pretty much as soon as the event finishes. So if you do miss any of it, you can watch it back as soon as you like.
So there's Stephen Bell, number 86 in the Sabre Escala, and behind him is Leon Morrell in the Radical. And we've got a green flag at the exit of the hairpin, and that's because we've got a spinner. It's the 24 car of Ian Child that has spun. There he is on the way out of the hairpin. The 2 leaders have been through and past that stricken car, which is showing no signs of moving, unfortunately, and obviously it's not in a great position in the middle of the road on the exit of the hairpin. And this is the battle that in half a lap's time will be with it.
Yes, the battle still being headed by Steve Bell in the Sabre, from the Radical of Liam Morrell and the Mattel of Richard Wise, and I can report there's no movement, I'm afraid, from Ian Charles's car, so let's hope everybody spots him as safety car boards are being prepared, and the safety car is going out, by the way. So double yellows for this group into the hairpin. Let's hope everybody knows what's going on here. They're all going to the outside and they all get through that okay. But Scott Mattel is not going to be happy about seeing her safety car boards out, because he was 3.5 seconds, oh dear, 3.5 seconds in front of Joe Stables. Steve Bell backed up probably a bit more than he needed to, although to be fair, the safety car was coming out in front of him.
Yeah.
And everybody just about worked out what was going on, I think, behind him, so we avoided any kind of issue. But yeah, Scott Mattel's 3.5 second lead that he'd built up is going to disappear to Joe Stables. Yeah, and
we're also going to have to deal with getting the slower cars wave past the safety car as well in the remaining 7 minutes of this race. Now that car of Ian Charles shouldn't take too much shifting once there's a gap in the traffic for the marshals to get out and give it a push up against the barrier, which I imagine is what they will try to do, or possibly in the direction of the pit lane, depending on what they decide is the best course of action. But we've got this safety car period then towards the end of this RLM Racing Bike Sports Championship, which is being led by number 27 Scott Mattel, from number 95 Joe Stables in 2nd place. In 3rd place is number 86 Stephen Bell. In 4th place is number 35 Leon Morrell. 5th is number 88 Richard Wise. 6th 73 Alistair Smart. 7th number 26 Mark Boot. 8th is number 44 Andrew Kimpton. 9th is number 5 Doug Carter. And 57 Brian Murphy is rounding out the top 10.
We've got a truck pickup recovery vehicle heading in the direction of the hairpin, so we'll have people on hand very shortly to deal with Ian Charles's Radical PR6, who is the second car who's had a problem in this race. Matt Moore retired early on. Ian Charles looks set to be the second retirement. So it looked like he just stalled the car and was unable to refire it. Of course, hot racing engines aren't particularly the easiest things to get back going, and I think that's what the problem has been here.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll get a tow rope onto that and just be able to drag it to a position of relative safety without too much disruption. It's a nice sedate safety car lap, so I'm always wondering if they're hoping that they can get it all done on this lap, which would be a tall order.
But also, what it does is give them more time, doesn't it, with no cars around the rescue team.
Exactly, because that's what they need, is a gap in the traffic.
Ian Charles is furiously waving his arms about, so I'm not sure if he quite realises what the procedure is here. Because I don't think they actually spoke to him, they just put a tow rope on the back of his car and started dragging him.
Yeah.
So I think that's brought a bit of a pause to what's going on here.
Yeah, so anyway, we're trying to get that car recovered onto the grass, which is easier said than done. Anyway, the cars in the race are heading around towards. Now, where in all of this did Scott Mittell and Joe Stables, did they end up at the back of this train?
Yes, that's right. So whether we're actually going to get time to wave them through, or they're going to have a very exciting restart, we are about to see. So we're going to, I guess we'll wave everybody by this lap, will we? But then
I would have thought so, but then they'll probably get one more racing lap after this anyway.
Yeah.
So, just having a look. Yeah, still safety car boards being shown. Yeah, they're now waving through Steve Bell. So safety car observer is waving through the slower cars, and everyone apart from the final two cars in the train will be waved past, which will be Scott Mittell and Joe Stables. I think Scott's worked out what's going on, and he should tuck in behind the safety car. And I imagine the safety car will do a very slow lap in an effort to allow Steve Bell to catch the train.
He's not really getting on with things, though, is he?
They're not going to give him more than one lap, are they? If he doesn't catch the pack, that will be his lookout, I think, will be the where we get to. Because, he really needs to be pushing on now to try and catch the back of this train, and I don't think that's going to happen. We might just about squeeze one more lap out of this, but the safety car will need to pick up its pace if it's going to do so.
I suspect we'll leave the truck and Ian Charles's car well off the road. You can see there on your screens it's well out of harm's way. But yeah, the rest of the pack, led by Steve Bell, are not catching up with the safety car train at any kind of rate.
No, they're not, unfortunately. And all the drivers are aware that that's what they should be doing in the event of a safety car. It's all in the driver's briefing notes that they get. Not so much in the way of in-person briefings, of course, in these COVID times. But nevertheless, all the drivers are made aware of their requirements. So they're heading through sunny.
Top two are well ahead in race conditions and well ahead in safety car conditions too.
They are as well, and they should just about get through to do one more lap, I should think, shouldn't they, the top two? But they're not. They're going to be so far ahead of the battle for third. There's a danger, actually, that they will catch on the lap that they do the battle for third, because the remaining cars.
What it might mean is the third place battle gets a green flag somewhere around the circuit, and Steve Bell's put himself at risk here of being caught out of that by that and losing his third position if he's not on the ball of when that's happened. Yeah, and the team, I think, are trying to urge him on, aren't they? The Tim Green Motorsport team, they're on the pit wall.
Not with any great degree of success, it would seem.
So this is the battle for the win. It's always been the case, these two, Scott Mittell and Joe Stables. Well, in this race, Stables hasn't had the pace of Mittell, but how are their tyres doing? Of course, they're called right down here. But who's got the most life left on this one lap dash?
Should be we're going to get it. Safety car boards are still out. We'll wait to see if the lights are on. The lights are off on the safety car. The safety car's back with us. Scott Mittell and Joe Stables are not. They are coming through the complex now, but we are going to get the last lap board as well. So we're going to get green flag, last lap board. And the race back underway. Safety car peels into the pit lane then. And so it's a one-shot showdown, really, for the RLM Racing Bikesports Championship. It's one-on-one. It's Scott Mittell against Joe Stables. It's the green flags wave, and they head down towards Clervaux Corner for the first time then in this restarted race, for the only time in this restarted race. And it's Scott Mittell that's ahead at the moment.
It is. It's a bit like the old Super League days, isn't it? With just two cars racing together in a head-to-head shootout, and they're absolutely together as they come out of the chicane. Then is the Radical PR6 a bit more slippery in a straight line, got a bit more straight line speed perhaps in Stables. Looks to the inside, looks to the outside, late on the brakes into Tower Corner.
And a change for third because Leon Morel has got through. The green flags have been waving behind them on the lap, so Leon Morel has seen that. He's got through to third place.
Through the Jim Clark S's, the leaders are together. Joe Stables is putting Mittell under more and more pressure on this lap. This lap is certainly the best we've seen Stables go in this race. He's putting Scott Mittell under intense pressure. They'll be pleased to note they won't be catching anybody else, but through the sunny section there, Mittell's been able to pull out a very decent margin, so it looks good for Scott Mittell. Is he going to take the first win for this car?
Looks like he might do, into the complex for the final time then, and I'm sure that if he does, there'll be a lot of delighted emotion in the Mittell cars team, because it's another car, another piece of development, and it's a win in it for Scott Mittell.
Yeah, very happy Scott Mittell. A slightly hot and bothered Scott Mittell, I'd imagine. Slightly strange that race that one in a way with the safety car, but the battle between you and Joe was just as close as it was in race one.
Yeah, I had a great battle with Joe for the first few laps, and then I managed to get through and show the pace I had probably in race one as well. But Joe made a few changes. The car was certainly much better then. But no, big thanks to number one dad, really. Now what it takes to do this is immense. So yeah, thanks to him, and thanks to all the team, and say hello to the kids that are out there watching as well for the first time for ages since COVID stuff allowed people back. So yeah, it's great.
Fantastic battle between you two in both races. You spent the entirety of race one staring at the back of Joe's car. Obviously you weren't keen to do that for another 20 minutes, but we didn't actually see where the move was made, so talk us through it.
I got a better run out of Sunny out, so down into the left-hander at the end of there, into the complex. Just got down the inside of Joe, just managed to keep him sort of squared it to the next little tight right-hander, and that's what that had done, really.
And from there, did you think you'd be able to pull away, or were you fairly confident Joe was going to keep you honest?
I knew he'd keep me honest, that's no question there, but I thought I could get a bit of a gap. So I pushed through a few laps, and I had a board saying sort of plus 3.8, plus 4, so I thought, oh, I'll get it to 5 and then I'll stop. And then I saw the safety car, so oh God. But yes, it wasn't much fun the last lap, but yeah, got it done.
Good stuff. Well, congratulations there. Scott Mittell then, the winner of our second race of the weekend. One each for he and Joe Stables. One more race then still to come. It's the Tagiwa Type R Trophy. They had a brilliant race earlier on today. Looking forward to this. A perfect way to round out day one here at Croft.